Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about marketing psychology. Um, Basically, all those subtle little tricks brands use to connect with us, like, on a psychological level.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm?
It's really fascinating stuff. We'll be sort of dissecting how brands use storytelling and, all those psychological triggers to make us want to buy their products.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why did we click on that ad? You know what I mean?
Right. We're going to get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
And, we've got some really interesting case studies to break down today. We're going to be looking at Cadbury Headspace,
Mhm.
Warby Parker, and IKEA.
It's like each brand has a whole different approach, too, like a different piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Each one kind of highlights a different aspect of marketing psychology.
Okay, let's jump right in. Let's start with Cadbury. Have you ever noticed that, like, really specific shade of purple they use?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like their signature color, isn't it?
It is. And they went so far as to actually trademark it. Like, why would a brand go to all that trouble for a color?
Well, I think it comes down to the emotions and associations that we have with certain colors,
Hmm.
like purple.
Mm-hmm.
It's often associated with royalty,
Mm-hmm.
luxury, even a bit of mystery.
So they're not just selling chocolate, they're selling, like, a feeling of indulgence.
Exactly. They're elevating the whole chocolate experience
Yeah.
just through the use of color.
It's clever when you think about it, but they don't stop at just color either. Cadbury's really good at creating this, like, full-on sensory experience.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Their ads, like the way that chocolate just melts and flows in slow motion.
And the music, the sound effects, it's like they're trying to make your mouth water.
Exactly. And who could forget that gorilla playing the drums? I mean, come on.
That's marketing gold.
It really is. I mean, I know I've definitely found myself craving a Cadbury dairy milk after seeing one of their ads.
Oh, absolutely. They're masters of creating that craving. They know that the more senses they engage, the more memorable the brand becomes.
It's like they're telling a story without even using words.
Yeah. Multisensory storytelling at its finest. All right, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about Headspace. You know, the meditation app?
Oh, yeah, Headspace. They've gotten really popular.
They have. Their marketing is so different from Cadbury's, though. It's like the opposite. It's all about calm and quiet.
Yeah, it is, right. Instead of those like bold visuals and loud sounds that grab your attention, Headspace is all about soft colors, gentle voices.
It's like their ads are mini meditations in themselves.
Exactly. And that's a perfect example of what we call the framing effect.
The framing effect.
Yeah, it's basically the idea that your first impression of something really shapes how you see it. So Headspace uses their ads to create this feeling of peace and tranquility.
So they're framing their app as like a refuge from all the chaos of daily life.
Exactly. And it's not just their ads either. The whole onboarding experience is designed to give you that same feeling.
Like, you do one short meditation and you already feel a sense of accomplishment.
Right. And that feeling makes you want to come back for more.
I can see that. It's smart.
Yeah.
But there's got to be more to it than that, right?
Oh, there is. There's a lot of psychology going on behind the scenes. You see, when you complete that first meditation, your brain releases dopamine.
Dopamine.
Yeah, it's a neurotransmitter that's associated with pleasure and reward. So basically, Headspace is hacking your brain's reward system to make you enjoy using their app.
Wow. That's pretty incredible when you think about it. So they're using psychology to create a habit.
Yeah, basically. They're making it as easy and enjoyable as possible for you to stick with their app.
It's fascinating how much thought goes into all these little details.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole science behind it.
All right, let's move on to our next case study. Warby Parker. What do you think is the key to their success?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is that they've really nailed the whole online shopping experience for eyewear, like their home try-on program. Genius.
I've heard good things about it.
Yeah. You get to pick out like 5 different frames. They send it right to your door. You can try them on at home, get feedback from friends.
It's so much better than trying to choose in the store. I mean, I always feel so pressured when I'm at the optician's office.
Right. Exactly. Warby Parker takes all that pressure away. And, there's actually a psychological principle at play here. It's called the endowment effect.
The endowment effect.
Basically, it means that we tend to value things more when we feel like we own them, even if it's just temporary. So when you have those Warby Parker frames in your house for a few days, you start to feel like they're yours.
That's so true. It's like you're already attached to them even before you've bought them.
Exactly. And that makes you way more likely to actually make the purchase.
Plus, they encourage you to share photos online. Get opinions from your friends.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're tapping into our need for social validation. We want to know that other people like our choices.
It's like they're creating a whole community around their brand.
Exactly. It's brilliant marketing.
All right, let's move on to our final case study. IKEA. Now, IKEA is a bit different. They're not really known for their online presence. They're all about the in-store experience.
Oh, yeah, IKEA. They're masters of creating these immersive experiences that just suck you in.
And they're so good at getting you to buy more than you planned.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a labyrinth in there. You go in for a lamp and come out with a whole new living room set.
So how do they do it? What's the secret?
Well, for one thing, their stores are designed to lead you on a specific path.
Yeah.
You know, they expose you to all these different products and room setups to spark your imagination.
It's like a carefully curated journey.
Exactly. And then there's the whole IKEA effect.
The IKEA effect.
It's this psychological phenomenon where people value things more if they've put effort into building them themselves.
Like their furniture. It always comes in a million pieces.
Exactly. But that's all part of the plan. By making you build the furniture yourself, IKEA increases your sense of ownership and accomplishment.
So you're more attached to the final product.
Exactly. And they're not just relying on the physical experience either. They've also got that augmented reality app, you know.
Yeah. The one that lets you see what the furniture would look like in your own home, that's pretty cool.
It is. And from a psychological perspective, it's genius.
How so?
Well, it ties right back into that endowment effect we were talking about. By letting you visualize IKEA furniture in your own space, they're creating a sense of ownership before you've even bought anything.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
It's like you're already picturing that sofa in your living room, so you're more likely to actually buy it.
Exactly. They're planting that seed in your mind.
It's all very strategic.
Oh, absolutely. IKEA knows what they're doing.
So they're combining that physical in-store experience with this digital layer through the app. It's really interesting.
Yeah, they've figured out how to blend the two seamlessly.
And it's all designed to influence our buying behavior.
At the end of the day, that's what marketing is all about, right?
It is. But you know what I've noticed? There's a common thread running through all these case studies. We've talked about color sensory experiences, apps, virtual reality.
Right.
But it seems like the most powerful tool they're all using is storytelling.
You're absolutely right. It's all about telling a compelling story.
Like Cadbury, they're not just selling chocolate. They're selling a story about indulgence and escape.
Exactly. And Headspace is selling a story about finding peace and tranquility in a chaotic world.
Warby Parker is selling a story about confidence and style.
And IKEA is selling a story about creating a home that reflects your personality.
It's not just about the products. It's about the stories they weave around those products.
And the emotions those stories evoke.
Because at the end of the day, emotions drive our decisions.
They do. We connect with stories on an emotional level, and that connection influences our choices.
It's like we're hardwired to respond to stories. We've been telling stories for centuries,
Right.
Passing down knowledge and experiences.
It's part of what makes us human.
And brands have tapped into that fundamental human need.
They have. And the brands that can tell the most compelling stories are the ones that succeed.
So what can we as consumers do? We've just spent all this time talking about how brands use psychology to influence us. So how do we use this knowledge to make better decisions? How do we avoid falling prey to all these clever tactics?
I think the key is awareness. Just being aware of the techniques that brands are using can make a big difference.
So we're not saying you should be suspicious of every ad you see.
No, not at all. It's more about becoming a conscious consumer.
It's about understanding the game.
Exactly. Once you understand the rules of the game, you can play it more strategically.
You can see those psychological nudges coming, and you can make a conscious choice about whether or not you want to be influenced by them.
Right. It's all about taking back control of your decisions.
It's like knowing how a magic trick is done. It doesn't make the magic any less impressive, but it allows you to appreciate the skill and the artistry behind it.
Exactly. And it gives you the power to decide whether you want to be fooled or not.
So the next time you're scrolling through social media or watching TV,
Or even just walking through the grocery store.
take a moment to be mindful of the marketing messages you're encountering.
Ask yourself, what story are they trying to tell me?
What emotions are they trying to evoke?
What need are they trying to tap into?
And most importantly, is this message genuinely resonating with me, or am I being manipulated?
Because once you start asking those questions, you'll be amazed at what you uncover.
You'll start to see the world through a whole new lens.
It's like a whole secret world of marketing psychology is suddenly revealed.
And that's a powerful thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Because knowledge is power.
All right, so to wrap things up,
Yes.
today we've talked about Cadbury Headspace, Warby Parker, and IKEA.
4 very different brands with 4 very different approaches to marketing.
But they all have one thing in common.
They all understand the power of psychology
They all use psychological principles to connect with consumers on a deeper level,
to influence our perceptions.
and ultimately to drive our decisions.
So the next time you see an ad or a marketing campaign, take a moment to think about the psychology behind it.
What story are they trying to tell?
What emotions are they trying to evoke?
And are you buying into it?
Because the more aware you are of these tactics, the more empowered you become.
And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, that's it for today's deep dive into marketing psychology.
We hope you enjoyed it.
And we hope you learned a thing or two about how brands are using psychology to influence your choices.
Until next time, stay curious.
And stay informed. It really does. Like, you're not just trying to picture it in your head. You can actually see it.
Right. And that's where the psychology comes in. Because even though you haven't actually bought the sofa yet, just seeing it in your own space starts to create that sense of ownership.
So it's like they're already getting you attached to it.
Exactly. It's like a little psychological trick. And it plays on something called the Zeigarnik effect.
The Zeigarnik effect.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed how it's easier to remember things that are unfinished?
Like when you start a task but don't quite finish it, it just kind of sticks in your brain.
Exactly. That's the Zeigarnik effect.
Yeah.
So when you place that virtual sofa in your living room, it creates a sense of incompleteness. And your brain wants to complete that task.
Which means buying the actual sofa.
Exactly. It's
Yes.
pretty clever, right?
It is. It's like they've created this whole psychological web to catch us.
Well, they're experts in marketing. I'll give them that.
So IKEA is a great example of a brand that combines those physical and digital experiences really well.
They have. They've figured out how to create a seamless experience that really pulls you in.
And you know what I've been thinking about? We've talked about color, we've talked about sensory experiences, apps, virtual reality,
Right?
but it seems like the most powerful tool they're all using is storytelling.
Oh, absolutely. Storytelling is at the heart of all good marketing.
Like Cadbury. They're not just selling chocolate, they're selling a story about indulgence and escape.
Right. They're painting a picture of this blissful moment where you can just forget about your worries and enjoy a delicious treat.
And headspace. They're selling a story about finding peace and tranquility in a world that's constantly bombarding you with noise and stress.
Exactly. They're offering you a path to a calmer, more mindful life.
Warby Parker is selling a story about confidence and style.
And IKEA is selling a story about creating a home that reflects your unique personality and values.
It's not just about the products themselves. It's about the stories they wrap around those products.
And the emotions those stories evoke.
Because at the end of the day, emotions are what drive our decisions.
They are. We might think we're being rational, but our emotions play a huge role in our buying behavior.
Think about it. Have you ever bought something you didn't really need just because it made you feel good?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Right. That's the power of emotion. And brands know how to tap into that.
They do. They use storytelling to connect with us on an emotional level, and that connection makes us more likely to buy their products.
So what can we do about it? We've just spent all this time talking about how brands use psychology to influence us.
Right.
So how do we avoid being manipulated? How do we make sure we're making decisions that are truly in our best interests?
I think the first step is awareness. Just being aware of the techniques that brands are using can make a big difference.
So we're not saying you should be suspicious of every ad you see.
No, not at all. It's more about becoming a conscious consumer.
It's about understanding the game.
Exactly. Once you understand the rules, you can start to see those psychological nudges coming.
You can recognize the tactics that brands are using, and you can make a conscious choice about whether or not you want to be influenced by them.
Exactly. It's all about taking back control.
It's like knowing how a magic trick is done. It doesn't make the magic any less impressive.
Right. It just gives you a different perspective.
It allows you to appreciate the skill and the artistry behind it.
And it gives you the power to decide whether you want to be fooled or not.
So the next time you're scrolling through social media or watching TV or even just walking through the grocery store,
Take a moment to be mindful of the marketing messages you're encountering.
ask yourself, what story are they trying to tell me?
What emotions are they trying to evoke?
What need are they trying to tap into?
Am I being manipulated?
Because once you start asking those questions, you'll start to see things differently.
You'll start to see the world through a whole new lens.
And you'll be amazed at what you uncover.
It's like a whole secret world of marketing psychology is suddenly revealed.
And it is. It's fascinating stuff.
And it's empowering, too, because once you understand how these tactics work, you can start to make more informed decisions.
So to wrap things up,
Yes.
today we've talked about 4 very different brands.
Cadbury Headspace, Warby Parker, and IKEA.
And we've seen how they all use psychology to influence our behavior.
From color and sensory experiences to storytelling, and virtual reality.
It's clear that brands are getting more sophisticated in their use of psychology
And it's more important than ever for us to be aware of these tactics.
so that we can make choices that are truly in our best interests.
So next time you see an ad, think about the psychology behind it.
What story are they trying to tell?
What emotions are they trying to evoke?
And are you buying into it?
Because awareness is the first step to taking back control.
And that's what we're all about here at the Deep Dive.
Absolutely. We want to empower you to be a conscious consumer
To make informed decisions that align with your values.
and to see through the tricks that brands are using to manipulate you.
All right, folks, that's it for today's deep dive into marketing psychology.
We hope you enjoyed it.
And we hope you learned a thing or two about how brands are using psychology to influence your choices.
Until next time, stay curious.
And stay informed. All right, so we've spent all this time talking about, big brands and their marketing strategies. But now I want to kind of shift the focus a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about us, like you and me as consumers,
Take a sit.
Think about a recent purchase you made. It doesn't have to be anything major, just something you bought recently.
Okay.
Now try to think back to what led you to that decision. Was it an ad you saw? Or maybe a friend recommended it?
Good.
Or maybe it was just the way the product was displayed, in the store.
Yeah, I get it.
Now I want you to go even deeper. Why did that ad catch your eye?
Okay.
What was it about your friend's recommendation that made you trust them? You know what I mean? Really try to analyze your thought process.
Okay, I'm following.
Chances are, if you dig deep enough, you'll start to see those little psychological nudges we've been talking about.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe you bought that thing because it was on sale and you didn't want to miss out.
Yeah, the FOMO is real.
It is. Or maybe you were drawn to the brand's story, they were promoting sustainability or something you care about.
Right. Values-based marketing.
Exactly. But the point is, once you start to see these influences in your own life, you become a more conscious consumer.
Absolutely. Awareness is key.
It's not about being suspicious of every marketing message you see.
No, not at all.
It's about understanding the game. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Once you know the rules, you can start to play it a little differently.
Makes sense.
You can see those psychological tricks coming and you can make a choice. You can decide whether you want to be influenced or not.
It's all about taking back control.
Exactly. It's like anything else in life. The more you know, the more power you have.
Couldn't agree more.
So yeah, that's really what we wanted to leave you with today.
Awareness.
Awareness is key.
Yeah. Being a conscious consumer. It's more important now than ever.
Absolutely. Especially with the way marketing is evolving,
It's true.
But if you stay curious and keep asking questions,
Yeah.
you'll be well on your way to becoming a more informed and empowered consumer.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, folks.
That's it for this deep dive into marketing psychology. We hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening.
And we hope you learned a thing or two that you can apply to your own life.
Until next time, stay curious.
And stay informed.